Hello, I'm Shai Almog, co-founder of Codename One, and I'd like to talk to you today as Android developers about how Codename One can make your life easier both on Android and in getting to other platforms. So, first, let's talk a bit about what Codename One is, what are we trying to do actually, and show you some of the things that it can do for you as developers and for your users. So Codename One allows you as Java developers to build true native applications for all platforms. So when we say true native applications, we're saying not HTML5 or PhoneGap sort of wrappers or runners or anything like that. On platforms like Android, we literally take the Java code and package it as part of an APK because Android is a form of Java in a sense. But on platforms like iOS, we literally translate your bytecode, not the source code by the way, the bytecode to native code and compile that to native code using Apple's standard tools, Xcode and Max and everything that's required by Apple's license, and we sign using Apple's standard certificates and give you a native high performance application with the same ease of development for the most part that you get when building for Android and everything else, and yet with the same level of performance or faster performance in some regards than native code, because we translate to C and not to Objective-C. It's up to 3 times faster than the actual Objective-C code, which that language is particularly slow, actually, surprisingly. It's free and it's open source. The entire project is open source. You can even build it offline without our support, although that would be hard, but people have done it and there are links to that in our website and everything. So this is a pretty big thing. But first, let's start with a demo. The device you see here is my actual iPad that's right here. So you will have to excuse the slowness because it's going over the network here and broadcasting to my computer screen. And here you can see the iPhone simulator that we're offering, which shows you the exact same application running on our simulator. And you'll see that here we have the back button that you get with the iPhone, and here we don't have it. We have a special layout that's more appropriate for a tablet. But as you can see, this is the same application that's automatically adapted for both devices. And in this particular case, both devices are iOS devices, so it's pretty easy to do to create something that looks the same for both. Well, that's the case, of course. But still, you can create a very deep and very interesting experience here. And you can also make things look completely like they are plain vanilla in some cases. So, say we were running this on a Nexus device, we would get a slightly different look. So, let's give the Nexus a second to load there. And as you can see, here we have a simulator that's based on the Nexus device, which is an Android 2.3. And you'll notice there's lots of tiny differences here, but also similarities. And the thing is that you have full control as developers in determining how similar and how different your app is between platforms. You'll notice the buttons behave differently, act differently, look differently, but are still the same. These are the same demos because it's the same code powering both of them, and it's really easy to implement. Everything here, there's a back button down. I'm not scrolling to it, but you can still get the same sort of native feel. Like you'll notice the theme here is aligned to the left, which is something we chose to do because that's the convention on Android. But the thing that this theme here looks pretty much the same, or we can go full native in that regard and give you a much deeper, much more integrated theme that you'll see is applied everywhere. It's not something that's specific. And obviously we can do things like fonts and everything you pretty much would expect. just to show you the level of compatibility that we have, we can show even videos in place on native devices. We can give you full access to all the native device functionality, which is huge control as developers within this platform, and that is hugely important when developing for devices. So that's generally the main portion of our demo here. So let's show you how you actually build an application using these tools. Now, I'm not used to Eclipse, but since you're Android developers, this is probably the tool you're more used to, so I chose to use Eclipse here. So forgive me if I botch things in this particular demo or fumble. I'm just not the guy who builds this particular plugin, and I'm just not used to Eclipse. So let's create a hello world project, and here you can see we can pick lots of theme types. We can go with just the plain vanilla native. We can go with a completely blank theme that has nothing in it, or we can go with a more customized look that still inherits the native behaviors but gives us a sort of unique thing. We can create a hello world application, or slightly more a demo that contains more content within it. So I'm going to go with the social brew in this particular case, and a tab-based application. It'll take a second to actually create that application, and especially on my bogged down machine. So excuse me, let's force kill that. Okay, so let's look at the hello world. This is the hello world project, and let's refresh that here. Now I can right click the simulator launch and just run it on. There might be a better way in Eclipse. I'm just not used to this platform again. As you can see, most of the source code is right here. We use Ant to build the native application, so you can also customize our build process. You can look through all of it. In this particular case, I created a GUI builder project, which you can go through our courses and tutorials and everything related to that. We talk about these things a lot. As you can see, this is just the demo with the multi-button and everything related to that. You can see the tabs. The tabs are Android-like. They're aligned to the top. On the other hand, if I switch to use an iPhone skin, then the tabs will behave in the iPhone way, which is aligning them to the bottom, even though the theme is completely different in this particular case. Everything adapts appropriately. I can obviously do things like rotate the simulator and everything you would expect. There's also lots of other things, like the ability to debug the event dispatch thread, get screenshots, monitor network operations. I can actually see all HTTP traffic back and forth, monitor performance, and do all sorts of other cool things here. We can also record tests and other. We have an actual unit test recorder and similar functionality like that. So that is cool. Now, you know, up until now I've showed you just the basic wizard and everything that works with it, but as developers you'd want to know, where is all my stuff? So the first thing you need to know is the lifecycle class, which is this. It's essentially a similar thing to the activity, but much simpler, designed for building applications. You can get access to the full activity within the native code, which I won't go into now, but for basic applications you normally don't need the full power of the activity. You just need start, stop, or that sort of thing functionality, and this contains it. Since this is a GUI builder application, most of your business logic will be in the UI code, which is here. So how do you get to the actual GUI? How do you configure it? Well, for that we have the resource file, and it seamlessly provides localization, theming, and GUI building capabilities that you can use drag and drop and styles to define everything like you would in every modern environment. But unlike, say, HTML or CSS, where you get all these sort of fragmented, loosely coupled pieces that frequently break and aren't visual to maintain, here you can actually customize everything right from here. You actually see all the styles, and if you want to change something, like for instance in this particular case I might want to change the title as an example, so I can just go to the title style right here and edit it, and as you can see I'm already defining the color for the title here. I can, for instance, do things like increase or decrease the padding in millimeters, so that can be very useful, and as you can see the title will grow as expected. There's also 9-piece borders, all of the sort of things you would expect in this sort of tool, and we'll go over more of these soon enough. There's the GUI builder, where you can literally drag and drop and place anything you want right into place and essentially do whatever you want with that. You get the component tree right here and the properties to customize. Very convenient. So to understand what we have here, let's go back into Eclipse and understand we ran the project just fine like that. But in order to build a native Android device, we can just send a build to Android, or appropriately send an iOS build or anything like that, and the system will automatically build a native application for me. It will ask you for your username and password, and in this particular case it brings the latest version of the libraries because my project wasn't up to date, so it automatically updates your libraries and works with that. And the thing is, I'm working on a Mac, but if you're working on Windows, then you won't need a Mac in order to build for iOS. You won't need a Windows. I don't need a Windows machine in order to build for Windows Phone, because we have servers in the cloud that do all of that heavy lifting for you. Now, just to put your mind at ease, you're not sending source code to us. You're sending the compiled bytecode only, and it's deleted immediately after your build has completed, so there is no risk in that regard. But it solves you a huge problem in setting up some of the complex build processes and getting everything to just sort of work out of the box. There are still complexities. You still need certificates. You still need to pay to Apple to get this to actually work on the device and ship to the App Store. There's no getting around that due to legalities with Apple. But once you do that, then you have a native application for every single platform, and it's easy to do that. You don't need complex setup. You just install our plugin, nothing else, and it just works. So as you saw earlier, we have a really fast simulator with lots of capabilities in it. We also allow you to debug the application really easily. So you can just set a breakpoint anywhere as you would with any Java application, because technically this is a regular Java application, and you can just place a breakpoint anywhere and see what's going on in your application, see the variables, see everything. Unlike that's me running it in debug mode. As you can see, the familiar Eclipse debugging, everything works just as usual. Unlike, say, some other tools that work with images, for instance, in Android you need to actually go and to work with every DPI, you actually have to go to every image and every directory and just sort of add this sort of thing. So for instance, here we have support for a feature called multi-images, which is very similar to Android's high DPI, low DPI, and everything. And as you can see, it's automatically managed for you. So I can just create a multi-image like I created here and have it work on every DPI and adapt to every DPI seamlessly. This is completely seamless to you, just like it is In Android, only in this particular case, adding the images is much easier. For instance, I can use the quick add multi-image feature and just pick any arbitrary image that I might have lying around. So for instance, I have this device screenshot right here, which I want to add as a multi-image. So I think this image is for very high resolution devices. So I just determined that. And now it was hopefully imported. And when I select it right here, I can see that it was automatically scaled for every DPI based on the fact that it was initially created with a particular DPI in mind. So I just tell the platform, look, this high resolution image is designed for very high resolutions, which is typical density of a Nexus 4 or a Galaxy Nexus device, 300 dpi or so, like an iPhone 4. So in that particular case, it's automatically scaled down to all the other DPIs based on that assumption. And we do that seamlessly for you, and it's really, really easy, much easier than doing it manually. Now, the thing is, it's also easy to do that with borders. So, for instance, button really has a border to it, which is a 9-piece border, and you can use our wizard to use any file to cut the border, just like you would cut a 9-piece border normally. But unlike with Android, besides having slightly more understandable guides, I think, we automatically generate all the DPIs for you. So once you create the border image, we will automatically scale the pieces using high quality desktop scaling algorithms, not device scaling algorithms, and adapt it to all the resolutions based on your selection here. So you don't have to do the 9-piece cutting for every single DPI that you want to support. You support all the DPIs from day one very easily right from the tool. Now you'll notice I didn't define manifests or anything like that. I just, I'll stop the debugging here. It's not interesting at this particular point. Clips again. So I can go to the project properties here. I think it's there for Eclipse. And as you can see, we have Codename 1. Codename 1 settings for all sorts of things, like the ability to define various things that you need for all platforms. And you can define these things yourself right here inside Codename 1 and have them, and essentially you're removing a lot of the complexity that exists in manifests, permissions, and everything. So permissions are automatically defined for you. You can modify the manifest yourself using build settings and things like that. The thing is, you don't have to, and you don't have to deal with that. It works automatically for the most part. And one of the last things I wanted to show you is how this theme looks on various devices. So right now this simulates iOS, but if I move to Android, things will behave a bit differently right from here. And I can also make it act like ice cream sandwich, or like any other more modern version of Android. And as you can see, things adapt, and when I'm actually running on the device, this will use the action bar by default, which we automatically take care of for you. You don't have to keep up with all of the changes that Google or Apple make every time. We support iPhone 5 instantly. You don't have to deal with that. So thanks a lot for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this quick introduction. And I hope you join us in our developer forum, where we're happy to help all developers get started with Codename 1. Thanks again.